goodness.
Hello everybody. Happy Friday. I would say happy spring, but it's Cape Town, so I'll say happy spring in November. Welcome to Conversations with Mohale. I am Mohale Mashigo. And I have with me a bunch of unruly women. This should actually be called Pumla and Mohale at Conversations with Mohale because she's here every year. So Pumla is here. I will introduce her like a decent person, even though you all know who she is. She is a professor, an activist, and an unruly woman. And really one of my faves. Yes, you are unruly. Thank you, my sister.
I like the part about being one of your faves, babe.
And next to her is Damilare, and Damilare is a debutante. And she's written, so actually my friends and I were arguing about this, and the friend who said is actually sitting somewhere here in the front, because I was saying the book is only big bam bam. And my friend over there said, no, it's only big boom boom.
Bum bum.
It's bum bum.
You see? You must never correct me because I will expose you in front of people. And next to her is Zukiswa Wanner. I'm going to say a prolific writer. And you've never been to Conversations, right?
No, I wasn't. I was.
Zuki's new
I
novel.
wasn't unruly enough.
Zuki's new novel is Love, Kill, Marry. And
Love, marry, kill. How?
I would kill first, then marry somebody else. No, so it's Love, Marry, Kill, and I've decided that I need Netflix to cut me a check so I can turn it into a movie. So don't get any funny ideas. I've told her I'm going to do it. So we're going to start off with, Pumla, I'm not going to ask you for an elevator pitch, but instead I'm going to ask you to give us a life update. What's been happening? Are you writing anything new?
Wow, okay. Life update. Since last year?
Yeah.
Wow, now I really feel like an underachiever.
It's just been a
I
year.
have done absolutely nothing to brag about. I feel like all I've done is travel. No, not like that. Not like that. What? Not like that. I've only spent 3 weeks in my own home. It's driving me a little crazy. I've read fewer books this year than I've read in a year since I was 10.
Okay.
So it's like, I know that I've been traveling so much. I'm in a different place. Every city sounds lovely, except when you're a person who loves reading as much as I do, and you're just so tired that you've read, it's September, and you've read 20 books only the whole year. How many weeks have we
I'm sorry,
had? It's appalling.
how many
It's
books have you?
appalling.
20.
Yeah.
How many books have you read? 4. Me too, 6. 20.
No. And what else?
Okay.
They think it's about sex. It's not. Still no wild, exciting things on the sex front. I'm writing fiction again.
Come on. Yes.
Oh, that's exciting.
Although, don't tell Melinda. She thinks I'm mostly writing the memoir that I've been writing
Yeah, sorry,
for the
Melinda.
last 2.5 years. But, yeah.
Okay, that's exciting. That's exciting. Fiction, I'm there.
Uh-huh.
Just sneak us a few
And
pages.
it's inspired by this panel. Because it's... No, it doesn't have the people on this panel, but it's got very badly behaved.
You know I like that.
That's all I'm going to say.
You know I like that. So, Damilare, every year, in fact, whatever panel I do, I ask people to give an elevator pitch of their book. So if you and I stepped into the lift and you had 60 seconds, and you know what, I'm starting to think 60 seconds is too long, but I'll take it easy on you, 60 seconds to tell us what your book is about.
It's about a girl who gets high on cookies and makes an announcement at her father's funeral that she's going to get her butt fixed.
Now that's an elevator pitch.
High on cookies and wants a Brazilian butt lift. I like like this. And I think that was less than 10 seconds. Zuki, I'm not going to hold you to 10 seconds.
You can't give me elevator pitch.
60 seconds. Let's go. Love, marry, kill is?
Love, marry, and killing.
You better not. This is the worst. How did you get this book published? That is the worst pitch of all time.
I know! But, I thought you were going to ask me for a summary like you asked, what has your last year been like? Now you're busy with
We'll talk about your life in a second. Just give us a...
Anyway, all right. Boy meets girl. Girl meets boy. Boy is married to somebody else. Girl is married to somebody else. Boy and girl from the other relationship conspire to get them killed.
I'm glad. If I hadn't read the book, all I heard was boy, girl, married, kill. That's very good. I read the book, so I understood. So, okay, let's discuss the word unruly. Because when I got the name of this panel, I was like, you see, there goes Mervyn and Frankie subtweeting me. But actually, then I was like, what is unruly? As apparently being disorderly, disruptive, not amenable to discipline or control. And then I realized, oh no, it's us. It's definitely us. So Pumla, I'm going to come to you and say, what do you think makes you an unruly woman?
Mostly it's because I do whatever the hell I want. Secondly, it's because I'm a runaway bride.
Pause.
And thirdly...
Wait!
Pause.
Reverse!
You don't just go runaway bride and what?
What? You don't know? You know this.
What?
Are we doing a performance for the people because you know this?
Yes. Oh my God. Pumla, we're literally in the theater and we're on stage. What drunk and doing?
Kiliwezi.
Okay.
Okay,
I had
what?
no idea. Let's take it again. What? Okay, fine. Continue.
The idea of it sounds much more exciting than the actual thing.
When you say runaway bride, though, I do see like you in a white dress, like running down the streets of
Oh.
Johannesburg.
No, not. I mean, no, what I mean is over many years, I would repeatedly think I wanted to marry a person, and then I would proceed to go all through the things. And then I would slowly, over weeks, the closer we got to the wedding, realize I didn't want to marry the person. And I did it a few times, and
My friend, I'd
And
really
so-
actually like to object to that because you don't know how many times I bought tickets when you gave me a save the date.
Well, don't save the date anymore.
listen, I think that considering that we have another friend who likes to go through with it and then get divorced
Wow.
and then invite
Said
us to
friend is
another
not
one,
here.
I think
Said
I
friend
like
is
my
not here.
version better. Zooks.
Okay, so you do whatever the hell you want. You're a runaway bride.
And I'm nice and sparkly. What else do you want? I don't know. What
No, I thought there were
what
other
makes me an
things.
unruly woman?
Yeah.
I do whatever the hell I want. And I'm not afraid of my own voice. And I don't really need I'm not a woman who needs permission. Like I've just never, even as a girl, I'm just like, I don't know what my parents did, but I'm not really a person that needs permission. Like I don't kill anyone. I'm not a violent, horrible person. I'm a really decent person. But I think many women and girls need a lot of permission. And I've just never been a girl, and I'm still not a woman who needs permission. And also, now this is my favorite thing about myself, I'm a woman who knows how and when to leave.
Yeah. So I think you get to a point where when you're a little girl, Damilare, when you're just like, I'm like other girls, and then people suddenly start reacting to you a certain way, and you go, oh, I think people don't like the kind of little girl I am. they say I'm wild or I'm disrespectful, and there is some of that in your novel. When did you discover that you were the kind of girl or woman that other people were just like, what you on about? What's your problem? Fall in line.
When I wrote Nearly All the Men in Lagos Are Mad, and someone said on Twitter that the reason why I'm not married is because I write books like that.
Oh.
Yeah, so I always knew that I was different, but writing has now showed me how different I am, because people make it their job to mail me how different they think I am.
Oh.
Yeah, so when Only Big Bum Matters came out, tomorrow, someone wrote to me, I just feel like if you titled your books a little bit tamer, you would have the opportunities to get into circles that are more dignified.
How do they know what circles you're in, though?
Well, and then I responded by saying, well, I'm a 2-time bestseller. I'll be fine.
There's nothing like being a bestseller and unruly, because they can't tell you anything. You can tell them the numbers don't lie, babe. Sounds like you're lying. So, you're a successful woman, Zuki, but do you think you've always had that, like, firebrand kind of wild spirit?
I don't know. You know me.
That answer tells me that tonight is going to be very difficult.
Very long.
I'm going to need more wine. But is there a time where you realize, oh, actually, I'm deemed or I'm labeled unruly, or whatever other words people use?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so often it's been when I say stuff, and a lot of other women are saying stuff. But I think recently, earlier this year, when I gave Burke a set-on medal, I had the...
You need to provide context.
Well, all right. I don't know whether this means anything, the first black woman, when they say the first black woman. Okay, so as the first black woman to be given the Goethe Medal, which is a German national award for contribution to culture, and that was in 2020. And last year I did a trip to Palestine, and I knew already, I'm South African, we've always known about Palestine, but being there and seeing what I saw it was in May, really just put everything that you hear about the Bantustans and stuff and everything that we had, is nothing compared to the situation that I saw. So when then I came back, I wrote a little essay called Vignettes of People in an Apartheid State. And I think I finished in June, end of June. And I remember talking to you both about it. But fast forward, I then, I was thinking about it, and then I read somewhere that I saw what was happening in Germany with the arts in particular, and there was a Palestinian writer who was supposed to receive an award at Franschhoek, and they didn't. Not Franschhoek. Sorry, Frankfurt.
Frankfurt, yes.
So similar.
There are no awards in Franschhoek, only for wine. Only wine awards.
In Frankfurt. Anyway, and she was supposed to get this award, and they ended up canceling the award ceremony for her, Palestinian novelist. And then there were a whole bunch of artists being shut down from speaking out against what everybody was seeing as a genocide, and which, of course, the ICC ruled was a genocide later. And so I then was reading something, and I found out that one of the biggest, of the two largest contributors of weapons to Israel were the US, and number 2 was Germany. And I didn't feel that I could keep an award in good conscience from a government that was okay that always seemed to be on the wrong side of genocide, to be honest, because we've got Namibia, and then we've got the Maji Maji rebellion, and then there was the Holocaust, and now we're having this. And I thought, no, I couldn't. So I went and I gave back, and to me it was just a small thing. I didn't realize how big it was up until I started getting cancelled. I have no regrets, by the way.
Never cancelled by me, though. I was very proud of you, and I still am.
Yes, absolutely.
So as
Mohale,
yes,
are you not going to answer this question? I want to know your answer to this question.
I've always
Black
known.
porcelain.
I've always known that I was different. I've got two brothers. I'm my father's middle child, and I'm the daughter. And I always did whatever I wanted. My mom couldn't get me to clean well enough. Still can't. So don't try to marry me. I can't clean. I can't keep home. And I just wasn't interested in cooking. Like all of the things that my mom was trying to make me do, I wasn't interested in doing. And I understand why, because my mom I like to call her the original party girl. She was a wild woman, great body, big afro, traveled all the time. And then I think her spirit was tamed. And so she wanted to tame mine before the world tamed my spirit. But yeah, she did not know this vung that she was raising. So I've always known that. But I think the older I get, and maybe the not falling into traditions that I'm supposed to, I realize that maybe I was born this way, and I'll never stop being unruly. Especially when I say I'm not interested in marriage, but I'm interested in having children. People are like, ugh, and then I'm like, I'm 41. They're like, old, So it's like everything that I want makes people
My
go,
friend, in this economy, you want to have children.
Of course. Because you are going to contribute now, and you,
I'm sorry.
and you,
Not
and
me.
you. This is a conversations with Mohale baby,
Nope.
okay?
Nope.
Friend, there are people in the audience who are getting 2 pots. I don't even have 1 pot.
I want the biggest contribution from you, actually. So yeah, I guess that's when I knew for sure. Like, okay, I have been unruly, and people have always looked at me kind of like, when people look at you a certain way, and then you go, why do I never see you look at other people like that? Then that's when I knew, okay, I'm unruly. I'm out of order. I'm wild, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
I know somebody who works as Cyril's domestic worker, so mattress.
What?
Just ignore Zuki. You will hear these
Well, she
one-liners.
does need money for the child she wants to have. So I'm trying to figure out the finances.
Oh my God.
Because
Why?
you and I are not going to contribute.
Oh, you're definitely contributing.
I'm not
Everyone in this
contributing.
room. In fact,
I'm not doing
there in the back, please make a sign-up sheet. All of you, give me your email addresses. When the baby comes, I'm emailing everyone. This is a conversations baby. So we talk about, being unruly women, but also we're unruly women who write. And I often wonder what influences the kinds of stories we tell. I'm going to start with you, Pumla, the kind of stories you tell, whether it's, fiction or non-fiction.
What's the question?
The kinds of
Who's your
stories.
influenza?
No, the kinds of stories unruly women write. What kinds of stories do you choose to tell?
I'm a very curious person. Like, I'm incurably curious. And so I like untidy stories, by which I mean I like a question much more than I like an answer. I like trouble much more than I like solution. I like mess, right? In the sense that I don't like tidy lines and easy things, and even as a person, I'm not overly fond. There's a certain type of person who knows everything and it needs to be right. And I can't actually, no, not you. You just pretend to be that person, But there's certain people who need to be right, like answers are uncertain. I don't.
So then how do you deal with when you put this work out and people are they're for sure that you're the person that has all of the answers, whereas maybe you're starting a conversation, but also you're just putting something forward and hoping that people will also put something in there?
No, I mean, not liking a question much more than I like an answer does not mean that I don't know anything.
No,
right?
but what I'm saying is when people then come to you and they go, "Oh my God, this, that." What, like when they say you are the expert on.
Yes, but you can be the expert, and actually, expertise very often comes and is maintained by people who keep asking questions, right? So if you sit on your expertise, I mean, information changes all the time, data changes all the time. You know, if you're a researcher, it's like, honey, like it was true, but it's like, it's now 2024, it's not 2014, things have happened, some things have started shifting, things don't meaning shifts all the time. So if you do the work, you can remain someone who does the work and has the rigor. So it's not about not recognizing expertise and a work ethic and all of that, but it is in fact about taking it seriously and taking yourself seriously and understanding that. So it's not like I can say, listen, I've done the work on this and this is what I know and this is what I see, and you come and you say, well, I actually think, I mean, you know, it's not that simple. Not all questions are, but I think questions are important. I think for me, in life and in literature, questions and difficult things teach me much more than people who come and like hit me over. But also, I mean, my day job, okay, yes, I'm a writer, which absolutely am a writer, but also my day job is I teach literature. And so I think that you change people's thinking, you change behavior by literature forces. You know, there's Gabi Ngcobo says this about visual art, but I think it's true about literature. She says we always have to pay attention to the question art asks. And I think the same thing about literature, right? That this is why you can go back to the same novel 15 times, and every time you read it, it teaches you something else. Now, of course, if you read it the first time, you're like, it is about this, full stop. Then you're robbing yourself of the 14 other encounters that come. So that's what I mean by the question. It's not like, who are you? Like, it's not like even the questions are not simple.
Yeah.
And so when I'm writing, whether academically, nonfiction, or fiction, I'm grappling with an answer, and I'm kind of trying to think about some of the possible answers to that question. I'm just very seldom happy with one answer, generally. I'm much more interested in, okay, so this person came in and jumped up and down on the thing. Yeah, okay, that's true. But what does it mean?
Yeah.
And I think the answer to what does it mean changes, and I like that. And so that's the place I like to play, much more than, he was high. Okay, so he was jumping on the trampoline because he was high. That's a very boring answer. So still, like, what does it mean?
So I guess very much like in Only Big Bum Bum Matters Tomorrow, everybody thinks Temi is just talking about, you know, wanting to get a Brazilian butt lift. But actually there are many things happening here, and it's all about the bodies that these women occupy. So I want to know, what is it that led you to this particular story about, because this story is, when you first read it, Temi is the one that you think, okay, here you go, you know, maybe it's like, it's because she's lost her father, or because she's had brownies and she's high, and you think she's the most unruly, and then you realize she actually may be the most sane of the lot, and the one who actually like has been taking in information and asking questions. And so I want to know what drew you to this particular story.
Aside from the personal experience, it's because if you walk in Lagos right now, in Nigeria, I don't care if you drive 2 kilometers, you're going to see a girl with a fake butt.
Oh.
And some of them not shaped properly.
Oh, is this when they look like wasps?
Yeah, when they look like cockroaches, like, you know that. So, and
Look like what?
No,
cockroaches.
it's the surgeons are really doing them dirty. Like they don't take
They don't
take proportions into account.
they're not panel beating them properly. So it's and it's gotten to a certain extent that now people are starting to think that investment, that's, you know, what you do with your money, is what you can do with BBL. So you have a girl who would say, I just need to finish school, save up enough money, get my butt fixed, and my life is going to get better. That's it. And it's a conversation going on. So I had this had happened 10 years ago, and I went to a school where I went to Obasanjo school, and Stella Obasanjo had gone under the knife and passed as well. So it was sort of that there's been a thread. So by 2021, when Nat Milam came out, I realized I needed to offload this particular trauma that happened to a loved one over her body shaming. And then it became obvious by 2022 that everyone was fixing their butts. Now for Nigeria, it's butt. In South Africa, of course, maybe that's not the problem.
It's a problem
We
for
know
me.
that's not the issue. But there's always something that it has now become a thing. Plastic surgery is the go-to for everything. I'm just going to fix it. Don't worry, I'm just going to fix it. And then these people are now taking advantage to do the worst kind of works. So it was imperative. And I always say to people, I'm just a mirror. All I do is hold the mirror to society and say, hey, this is where we are at. I'm not judging. I'm just telling you that there are young girls saving to do BBLs. There are young guys who feel the pressure to take care of a girl at the age of 20. So he has turned to scam and all of that because he thinks he has to be a billionaire to be able to keep the babe. Because you go online, a girl is like, if you can't buy me Gucci, if you can't buy me Chanel, you're not getting me. And maybe she's his dream girl. So in his mind, he's like, he has to do that. And then there's the part that the girl that has the fake body is like, oh, I'm going to Mauritius tomorrow, then I'm going to Greece the next day, then I'm going to India. So in her mind, she's like, this body is going to get me the life I want. And I have my family members who are waiting for me to become successful so that they can rely on me financially. So it's all of these things that led to writing Only Big Bum Bum, because it's not about talking about the bum bum. It's this pressure that women have to be under, either to be skinny or to be curvy or to look a certain way to be acceptable to society. I mean, who makes these rules? And whoever they are, boom, them.
But, yes. But I think when I read it, it definitely didn't feel like it was a judgment on Temi, because as you keep reading, you realize that all of the women in her life have got something that they don't like about herself. And no spoilers, you know I hate spoilers, but one of her aunties was struggling to find a husband and then started, lightening her skin. But that's not the reason why she found a husband. That's just what they kept telling her. And I thought it was a meditation on almost every generation has got its thing, with no judgments, just like the world is really harsh on women's bodies.
Yes. So there's this thing where we have this competition where we go Miss Ebony, because we say the most beautiful girl, she's probably fair. Then we move to Miss Ebony so that the black girl doesn't feel weird. That colorism, that silent colorism that's in the room that we don't talk about. And now, because we are now in a woke culture, we're like, you know what? Melanin popping. So you don't need to be fair anymore. You just can be whatever color. And now the fair people are feeling left out because they're like, oh, okay, now, so it's a bad thing to be fair. I was saying that at a reading, I met a girl who said she had to walk under the sun. When she started dating a guy, the guy said to her, I would like you more if you were darker. So every day, 2 hours, she would dedicate to walking under the sun so she could tan. And then she was saying at the reading that when she broke up with him, she asked herself, what demon possessed me that led me to this place? So there's
Patriarchy.
it's that thing where we have every generation carries something. And that was why it was very important because people say to me when I meet people, they're like, oh, I thought you were going to progress into where she did the bum bum. I'm like, no, how can you talk about the future if you don't look at the past?
Speaking of future and past, Zuki, your book takes place in the past and in the future. But I want to know, this story is very different. What brought you to this love story? I don't know how to explain it. Just a mess, but also so beautiful. What
Have you
what
met
brought
her?
you? What brought you to this messy love story?
Well, I think I'd 10 years ago, which is weirdly when I last wrote a novel, I'd written something very, very serious and, and I wanted to get back to my playful side. I wanted the reader to have fun with the story, but as always, I wanted problematic characters.
You don't have a shortage of them in this book.
Yes, and I don't have a shortage of them, and they, and they range, others of course are more problematic than others, but I had so much. I wrote this while I was in Eldoret, which is in Western Kenya, and I'd wake up every morning at like 2, and then I'd start writing, and then at about 5 or 6, I'd go running because it's a city of runners. And I come back, and I'll be so excited about, okay, I need to read what I just wrote and stuff, because I was having so much fun with it. And I started with a very, I was trying to see, I'm going to have these 2 problematic people, and which is what I did with this as well. I'm going to have these 2 problematic people, and they've got this crazy situation, and I want to see how to seduce the audience into almost tolerating what they would not otherwise
It was
be
very
okay
sexy.
with.
I tolerated.
You're unruly.
Well, so I really could tell that you were having fun with this one. It just feels like you kind of felt like, you know what, I've done everything. Let me just have fun. Is that how you were feeling?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, listen, I have never been more in love with a character than I had with with Sandy.
Oh, Sandy the Hitman.
Yes.
I won't give too much away, but Sandy is actually the best hitman. I know what it sounds like, but he's the best hitman. He's just like,
Right.
you have a way of just writing these like wild characters, but I think in anyone else's hands, they wouldn't have worked as well, but they're rooted in something that is maybe not dignified, but the roots are there. They don't seem like, oh, I was almost about to say another writer's name. Never mind. Hey. So
Yeah.
no more wine for me here.
We have enough problems.
Okay, so I'm going to ask everyone to read from different parts in their books, and I asked you to choose a place where, there's a display of unruliness. But before we get there, Pumla, in chapter
Why
10.
do you always start with me?
Because you're
Because you're
next to
next to
me.
her.
They give much more exciting answers, and I'm like, my answer was so boring.
Is there an answer you want to rethink?
No, just go ahead.
Pumla, why is this way? Okay, my man.
Sure.
I'm asking you about chapter 10.
Yes.
And you talk about difficult women. And
Yes.
I mean, there's always been a name for unruly women, difficult women, unlikable women. And I want you to tell me about one of your favorite unruly women, Wambui.
Oh, Wambui Otieno. So Wambui Otieno is she really is one of my absolute favorite historical figures, although she died a few years ago. So Wambui Otieno was like a middle-class Kenyan who ran away to join the Mau Mau. Now, if you know a little bit about Kenyan history, Zukiswa, I know like you are the resident South African Kenyan, but shh. I don't footnote my thing. Just let me talk about my person.
So we can't talk about Millie.
So she, and I mean, okay, so I don't know how much you know about Mau Mau. I'm not going to talk too much about Mau Mau. But the point is, the profile of people who ran away to join the Mau Mau were not the middle class, right? So she was young, and she ran away to join the Mau Mau. And then later on and then of course there was freedom and and she was involved in politics post independence, and married someone who was very similarly oriented aesthetically and politically and so on. And then they made, they were revolutionary, so they made some really strange decisions, strange for their society, decisions about their lives, and they decided they wanted to be buried in a certain particular way when he dies before she does. And his family, of course, as families often do, in different African continents decide that he belongs more to them than he does to her. So she's like, this is where I'm going to bury my husband. This is what we decided, and we're going to do it like this. And they go, no, we bury people here. And so she says, nope, and then there's a huge court case, right? And even the court case is scandalous, because what kind of woman? First of all, you're fighting over a corpse. Second of all, what kind of woman fights her in-laws? She's not dignified. She's not all of these things. I mean, like, hello, have you met her? She's been married to your son for many years. They're both completely wayward. You think he's going to die? She's going to suddenly become obedient, compliant. Anyway, she fights them in court. She eventually loses this battle. It's a big thing. She doesn't let it go. She doesn't get over it, and so on. And then much, much later on, in her ripe old age, I think in her late 70s, early 80s, she falls in love again with a man who's like 30 years her junior. And of course, everything she did, becomes a big thing. So he's not only much younger, but he's the wrong class, right? He's working class. It's just like she cannot do the right thing. But she was not, so this is part of her biography, right? But she's a woman who really owned her own voice, right? So she writes and she speaks, and she just did what she wanted to do. And she continued, and Kenya continued to have this kind of ambivalent relationship with her, because on the one hand, she did all of these things that are celebrated in the society. She's incredibly bright, she's accomplished, she's on the right side, of history, and she has a social conscience, and she does all of these things with her life. At the same time, she just can't do heterosexuality properly and be a quiet, nice, proper, middle-class African woman with the right education, who doesn't speak too loud, doesn't love wrong, and knows her place in the privacy of knows her proper place in the dominion of the family. So, I think very often it's like, it's fine if we're out there wild, but you can't be wild at home. It's like that thing people used to say in the mid-90s and not mid-90s, early 2000s in South Africa. They'd be like, well, yes, I'm a very empowered woman, and that's what I do. But when I go home, yes, I'm on my way to becoming the MD. But when I get home, I have to cook for my husband. And
I leave my feminism at the door.
I have to be feminine. I leave my feminism at the door. And I'm like, you don't even have to say that. Nobody asked you, first of all, this thing. I don't know why it's such a source of pride that you're like, I'm really breaking ceilings, but at home I have to make sure my husband's ego, and my husband's just one of my children, and I have to make him feel because we're changing so, and she just and I mean that was the South African script, but it's a very common script in many contexts, that we love a Nobel laureate, like Wangari Maathai was very similar. We love a Nobel laureate winning woman, and we pretend that this movement that she built isn't a radical movement. We ignore that she took on Moy, that she stripped in public, that she left her husband and used his surname against him, added an A, did all these things. We ignore the logic of the fullness of women who are not containable. We like the best of ours.
Yes.
Look how nice she looks in public. And she just wasn't interested in, and I feel like in many ways, she was also a girl who didn't need approval.
And the world does not know what to do with women who do not seek approval. So I'm going to ask you guys, and I'm giving you time to think about your favorite public figures. We're going to talk about, unruly women in your family just now, or unruly women in your personal life. But I think the reason why I will always be all about Brenda Fassie is because I could not believe she existed. Wonderful. It was just, when she was on TV, I could not contain myself. I was like, she's a star.
Yes.
And I remember this one day, she was parked in her red car on the side of the road, and I was in the back of my dad's car, and we drove past, and I rolled the window down, and I said, Baba, driver, slow. And I stuck my head and I said, hello, Sis Brenda, I love you. And she was, cool as you please. I love you, my baby. That is my claim to fame. Okay? Nothing will beat the day Brenda Fassie was chilling next to her red sports car and I was rolling, pumping my little hand, and I just needed her to know that I love her and I'm so glad she exists. And when she said, I love you, my baby, I was like, I don't care what my parents tell me from this day on. Brenda Fassie loves me. Okay? Brenda Fassie loves me, and to this day, actually, I still tell my dad, I'm like, please, when he's like, I love you, I'm like, yes, but so does Brenda Fassie. Like, like Brenda Fassie also loves me.
Yes.
I just could not believe that she existed in such flawed and wild ways, and she was like, yeah, I know I'm doing something fucked up now, but give me a chance. Like, I'm gonna figure it out. And she was like, I'm not perfect. I don't know why you expect this of all of me. But she was so powerful, and she loves me. So my unruly woman is Brenda Fassie, and even when I think about her actually having existed, I still cannot believe that she did all of that stuff. And then that damn, what was it, Time Magazine or New York Times that said she's the Madonna of Soweto.
Madonna of Soweto.
Madonna is the Brenda Fassie of America.
Exactly. Bruh.
Yes.
The hell, Madonna, you
Like,
wish.
hello.
And so that is my unruly woman. I love Brenda Fassie. I could go on about Brenda forever, like queer icon, icon of chaos, icon of talent, icon of doing whatever the hell you want, my favorite unruly woman. So Uzuki, I'm going to come to you. Who is a public figure who is your favorite unruly woman? You can only pick one, my sister. We don't have lots of time.
And I can't say Pumla, right?
Of course you can. No.
Pumla said, of course.
Not if
yes,
none
yes.
of your friends. Has to be a famous
Oh,
other
okay,
person.
okay. For me, it would actually have to be Winnie Madikizela Mandela. I have the dubious honor of like being a Mandela biographer, and I remember
What
doing
haven't
the
you done in
research.
your life, Zukiswa? No, don't
few
say,
things.
just carry on.
Okay.
Carry on.
Of course, I was actually...
No, carry on, don't think about it.
Anyway.
I
So
want to
I-
hear the
I-
answer.
We don't want to hear the answer.
Anyway, so while I was, I think, even when I was doing, not even Black Pimpernel, but before, when I did 8115, A Prisoner's Home with Alf Kumalo, I was doing a lot of research, and I remember realizing how young she was when they first got together, and then seeing this guy she's essentially had a very short time with him, and he's writing letters to her while he's in prison, and he says to her, I heard that Zinzi I saw from your email that Zinzi has a cold,
It's an
and
email, way.
Not it's
Yes.
an email.
Snail mail.
all right, sorry. So I saw Zinzi has a cold, and please make sure that you dress her warmly. I'm like, what the hell did you think she was gonna do? Like, why are you micromanaging from Robben Island, bruh?
Like, worry about yourself, bro.
Like, do yourself to yourself. Gather yourself.
You
know?
invented the jersey for children. What the hell, Nelson?
Yeah. So, I mean, I was like, wait. and then, of course, I mean, when you understand that she herself, her being put in Constitution Hill prison and being kept in isolation, and the type of stuff that as a country we actually will never talk about, the type of stuff that the women who were in the prisons, or even the women who, we celebrate the men who were in Robben Island. We don't celebrate the women who had to keep the home running, who had to uphold everything, who had to keep their children still, to ensure that they're fed in spite of the fact that things were being made so difficult for her, you know. When they sent her to Brantford, they wouldn't, you know, they sent her and they wouldn't allow her anything, and it was difficult. And then she gets there and she forms a community. She's like, let's, you know, we're gonna put a garden, we're gonna put this and that. You know what? I actually want about 10 South African men that we consider heroes to be given that same experience and still survive and thrive and move on, like, as a country, you know. But so much is asked of women, and there's so much judgment done of them, you know, in spite of the cruelty. And I am looking at a manuscript right now, and this manuscript that I've been reading is on prenup, and while I was reading it,
On prenup?
Prenup. And one of the things while I was reading it is how there is a similarity between black men and brown men and white men in this country. They all seem to not like women very much, you know? And you know, sometimes you think, maybe as a black woman, like, oh my God, I'm getting this animosity from black men, and black men are terrible. And then you have a conversation with a white woman, and you have a conversation with a colored woman, and they'll tell you, hey, kuning. It's
Same
the
product,
same,
different box.
same WhatsApp group, you know? So I think there's a deeper conversation to be had about us as South Africans, and I've often argued that, you know, perhaps what we should have done in 1994 is we should have just, at that point in time, shut our borders and say, you know, let's have a conversation about...
Hey, let's talk. What's the plan,
you know,
Oaks? What's the plan?
Let's slaughter and cleanse this place, and let's see about what's the South Africa we want. So
Yeah.
I think, you know, the country, you know, and history has been a little, absolutely harsh. Not a little, actually a lot harsh on Winnie Madikizela Mandela. I don't think many of us would have been able to survive the stuff that she went through.
Sure. Damilare, tell us about the public figure who you think who is your favorite unruly woman.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to give you a public figure because I think that when you meet your heroes, sometimes they disappoint you.
No, because we're getting to people in your personal life. Were you going to jump straight?
No, I'm just going to say that, but I would say that the women that and they don't have names, they're not as popular, but you see those women who are in communities in Nigeria who have raised children that have been abandoned. These are people that exist, women who have been there when there is no one, when there's literally no one else for these kids. These are the heroes. These are the people I know that when there is no camera, there is nothing, there is no accolade, they still show up and they still do their best.
Yeah.
Those are the people that matter to me. No, I don't. I'm sorry. I don't really. And I'm unapologetic about it. I'm very grounded. There is nothing. Maybe because I've spent a lot of time meeting people that are popular, I'm good.
Oh, hold on.
I'm
She
sorry.
said, I'm around popular people. They're not all that trust.
It's okay.
Okay, so tell me about somebody that you know in your personal life who is your favorite unruly woman.
My mom.
Yeah?
Oh my God, my mother. Jesus, I don't know how she survived growing up. Because the things she did, the way she moved about her life. And then, you know, I remember when I was younger, I had this thing, I used to color my hair. My hair would be yellow. And I never could wear a bra.
I feel attacked.
I would...
She said yellow, not silver.
So I would always either color my hair yellow, purple, and then I would not wear a bra. And then I would wear trousers and alter neck. And my mother, she would have me dressed the way I want to be in front of, you know, parents who are maybe strict jacket, very strict, and I am dancing to a religious song with my boobs going this way.
Come on.
And she's like, that's my baby. I'm like, come, let's praise the Lord. And my mom is like,
Praising in a halterneck.
and I didn't know what she was doing, because now that I'm grown and I see that it's very hard to let your child be who they are, because I know that after school, most times, people would call her to have conversations with her. And maybe the next day she'll be like, oh, we should go shopping. What else do you want to wear? So now that I am writing these things, and, now that she's older, she's a little calmer. She's still very wild, but she'll be like, hey, you titled your book Only Big Bonbon Matters Tomorrow? I'm like, yes, you raised me. Like, what did you think? So, yeah, my mom.
Pumla, who is the unruly woman in your life that is your number one smash
I already
hit?
answered already.
In your personal life, my sister. Not public figure, you see?
Oh, in my personal life, my life is full of unruly women. I mean, I'm a collector of unruly women, so I'm a collector of unruly women. I come from unruly women. I mean,
You see
the
how
men,
you say people give good answers
the
and
women,
then...
the women in my father's family. I mean, sometimes some things I'm still finding out, and I'm like, they did what? That explains this thing, because some of them I met as old women, right? But I'm like, then I hear my last uncle, like my dad and his siblings were raised with I don't know, it's a long story, I'm not going to get into that. In the memoir maybe. But anyway, there were these women who raised, they did the things, they married, but somehow managed to raise their kids as though they're siblings. So my dad had siblings that he was very close to, but he also had these cousins that he was equally close to, right? So there was a group of them. And the last of that group died at the end of April. And some of the stories he would tell me in the last few years, because I would have met some of them. Some of them were not my aunts. Some of them were like their aunts. Like, so I would have encountered them in old, like as some of my grannies. And I would think that they were a little quirky, and I like a quirky person. But then he was telling me some things that they did, like at the big, early on. I was like, no wonder I'm like this.
Yeah, it's in the blood.
Actually,
in the blood.
No, I mean, I wasn't not going to be like this, but actually, yeah, I didn't have a chance. So my life is full of them. I come from them and I collect them.
You're
So
doing what your
can't
people
choose a
have been
person.
doing for a long time, which is being an unruly woman.
Listen, man, just let women be free. There's so much stuff.
I think for me it was
The
definitely
planet is dying.
like my
Still,
aunt.
even now, you won't let us be free.
That's exactly when they don't want us to be free.
Hi, just leave us alone.
So I think for me it was definitely my aunt, my mom's older sister. Both of my parents come from families that were quite isolated because their parents had moved to Soweto away from the larger family structure. And my aunt, she lived a hard life, but she had a plan. There was no she fell on hard times and she'd be like, wow, that was bad. And then she'd be like, what do I have in my back pocket? Oh yes, plan D. She always had a plan. And I always used to think that she was one of those people that was that thought terrible things would happen, that was like, oh, everything is bad. But then I realized she's just like, I'm not going to be out on my ass by myself with nothing. As soon as her husband started cheating, she was like to her sisters, I'm a huge eavesdropper around my family. She said to her sister, she said, listen, he can do whatever he wants. You know whose house this is? Mine. You know under whose name? Mine. And then my mom was like, how now? And she said, you make friends with people who can make a title deed happen in your name. I said, the man is going to be homeless and he doesn't even know.
He doesn't even know.
She was not stressed. So I lived with my aunt for many years. And he would come home and we'd be sitting. I used to be a really old lady when I was younger. When I was an old lady, young person. I used to drink tea, pour in the saucer, because I grew up with an older lady. And we'd hear his car, and I'd be like, I used to call her Osi. I'd be like, yo, Osi, he's here. And then she's like, it's okay, it's not even his house. Even this key that he's got now can be taken away any day. She was like, whatever happens, make sure that you've got something in your back pocket because these men are not loyal. And so I love that. Like life was just hard on her, and she was like, "Not today, Satan. I've got a plan. I'm going to meet somebody who can make the title deed in my name. Bye bye."
I kind of feel like after listening to that, I just need to do a reading recommendation to you all, and you can find it on Google. It's free. Jennifer Makumbi's "Let's Tell This Story Properly," because that is that story.
Yeah. So, Zuki, let's talk about the the unruly women in your personal life, and you can't say Pumla.
All right.
I'm not even that
okay,
unruly.
so there was this particular situation where kids, and I swear to God, it reminds me so much of, there's a scene in nervous conditions where somebody's being, where mining is beating up. Yeah. So this is pretty much almost similar, but not quite. And in this particular scene, a relative got beaten by her husband and then left and went to stay with her older sister. And then the husband and his uncle came to, take their wife back. And when they got there, my grandfather was there and my grandmother was there. And my grandfather, so this guy says he's come to get back his wife. And my grandfather said, "You've got a wife." Really? Type of thing, right? And then my grandmother said, hey, what wife are you talking about? Because we don't know, you don't have a wife, you don't have whatever, because you don't beat up people who can, you don't beat up anybody. Anyway, so this guy decides that he's gonna, no, my wife. And then my grandfather stands up, right? And he had a walking stick, and he pulls this guy up. And he was quite skinny, but, the guy, not my grandfather. My grandfather was, So he punches him, and this guy falls. And then he takes his walking stick, and he starts beating this guy, right? But then, this is my grandmother, and this is her reaction. Beat him! He beats women, beat him!
Hit him again.
And I'm there for that humiliation. And I remember my cousin and I, watching from the window, right? Hey, we're here for this.
She said, "Hit him again."
Beat him.
Okay,
Anyway, yeah,
so
he
I know
left
you guys
actually quite early.
I know you guys have questions, so I'm going to give you an opportunity to ask all of your questions. Please ask about people's books as well. I mean, we're being unruly here, but we're also writers.
We're going to read excerpts or something.
Yes, I get it now. I'm giving them a chance to think of their questions. So while you're thinking, Dami, let's start with you.
Okay. I'm going to be reading from the part Ladu and Edache. As I sat in my car later, trying to process the reality of being an armed robber's fiancé and possibly ally, my thoughts were all over the place. Edache, an armed robber, a thief? I had been trying to get pregnant by a thief? I confronted him when we came home after the protest. Edache, I saw a message on your phone. Oh yeah? Why were you going through my phone? He said, eating, but I noticed it chewed more slowly. I saw your messages, Edache. Are you an armed robber? His face suddenly became hard. His eyes looked void of emotions, and he flexed his jaw as he pushed his plate away. I followed him as he stormed off into the living room. In that moment, his house, in all its 3,000 square feet glory, felt very small. He sat down and spoke slowly. Honestly, how do you think we have survived in this pandemic? How many people are buying textiles or going clubbing? I bought you a car. Come on, Ladu, don't be naive. Surely you didn't think all this comfort came from the proceeds of event planning. He saw me struggling for words, so he went on. Besides, the things we steal are from the people by the government, and we return them to the people at a small price. I like to think I'm stealing from the rich and giving it to the poor. I folded my arms and said, so you are Ikeja Robin Hood. His eyes bulged as if I had just punched him. You know, if you had stayed with your parents to receive proper home training, you wouldn't be talking to your husband to be like this. And I'm not in the mood to fight. I'm not an armed robber. I'm educated and I don't carry guns. I have people for that. Do you see me? Do you see me complaining about your mediocre cooking? This is what happens when you leave your parents' house early before they finish training you. Hell, you can't even suck a dick properly. My dear, we all have our shortcomings. Let's move on.
I'm scared of you.
Only Big Bam Bam matters tomorrow. You can buy it there outside, and Damilare will sign it for you. Would you like to read something for us, Pumla?
But you chose the...
I
which
know,
parts?
I
Okay, which
know.
part?
Okay.
The part where you put your picture.
No, it's a bookmark. Don't laugh.
It's gorgeous. It's of her and the fabulous Marcy.
Why are you showing the people my private pictures? No, but from
I
someone
didn't know
else
it
in
was
the
private.
from someone else in the chapter, because you've already covered our fave.
Yes. Are you gonna give me a minute?
Okay, Zuki, over to you.
Okay. Let me see.
I just want to say I told her she has to read.
No,
she's the one who said we're going to read.
No, but okay, I do have the place. Do you remember when I left home in 1992? He nodded. How could he forget? The year he learned to cook because his father burned food and his late sister, Masinyita, was rebelling and he needed to eat unburned food, even if it were eggs. That year you went to stay with Kokani when she was ill. The beginning of a smile started at the corner of her mouth. She downed half her hunters and then she started laughing. She laughed so hard. He worried that she was going to fall off her chair. When she got hold of herself, she asked, "Is that where your father told you I'd gone to?" To your grandmother in Guyana because she was ill. He nodded and asked, "Is that not where you were?" And then she told him. All that time, she'd been in Soweto. He couldn't believe it. With whom? I was staying with my lover. She then said wistfully, "You, Rendani." He made me so happy, you know. He'd been so shocked he put his hands on his head. Who was this woman? This was not his ma who had been married to his father for 45 years, was it? She reminded him. She reminded him how his father, their father, her husband, used to beat her. He nodded, remembering how he too had almost become his father years ago. How did you meet this Rendani? His shock was surpassed by his curiosity. I'd met him before. He stayed in Shawela, near my father's sister. He was a headmaster at one of the schools in Soweto, and he told me he was a widower and his children were staying in Venda with his parents. You just packed up and left us to go to him? Many years later, the child in him was still feeling abandoned. I left to go to my aunt's. Every time your father used to beat me, he would beat the thighs, the stomach, anywhere else that would be covered in dresses. But the night before I left, that man, she spat with contempt. That man beat me in the face. It said to me that even though he had not respected me, now he did not even respect what outsiders thought of how he treated me. That's why I beat him back, if you remember. Now she was smiling. Oh, he remembered all right. He wanted to laugh, but he kept his mouth closed and chuckled inside. She continued. When you all left, I packed and went to Soweto. S4, left us to go to him. You are a parent now, Akani. Sometimes a parent's actions are not always all about you. Even your mother is a human being who deserves to be happy. He put his hands, leaned over and kissed her. As kiss mama. Get away. She said, swatting him. And then she continued with the story. When she had arrived at her aunt's and recounted what had happened, her aunt cried with her. With her husband still at work, her aunt asked one of the children to ask the headmaster, who stayed down the road from her and had just arrived home for lunch, to take her niece to Bara, where she had received a few stitches to the cut on her eye. And that was when it began. The headmaster would come to check on her and bring her small treats every now and again. A chocolate here, some fish and chips there, a perfume. Then he had asked her to move in with him. But I'm married, she had protested. And so? Am I asking your husband to move in with me, or am I asking you?
Thank you. Pumla?
Wangari Maathai is the kind of African woman the meritocrats love to reference. We're invited to celebrate her as part of celebrating African excellence. Looking at her life, it is not hard to see how a consistent overachiever has more than enough evidence to support this narrative. Not only was she the first woman in East and Central Africa to graduate with a PhD in 1971, she went on to teach veterinary anatomy at the University of Nairobi for a few years before clinching 2 more firsts as head of department in 1976 and professorship in 1977. The Nobel laureate for peace and founder of the Green Belt movement, whose radical Pan-Africanist and feminist environmentalist politics did not always translate well across borders, repeatedly highlighted why taking care of the environment was a multi-layered political project. In her highly publicized speeches, she insisted that women were closer to the earth in many African contexts, not because of the essences that colonial and African patriarchies mythologize, but due to their burden of agricultural and domestic work, both of which depend on the health of the earth. Therefore, she reasoned, women see environmental degradation first. And as she built and led a movement that crossed borders of ethnicity, generation, and nation state, her work's real impact is something we will fully appreciate long after her death. In her brilliant essay, Silence is a Woman, Wambui Mwangi relates a little-known story about Wangari outside Kenya. She writes, in 1992, Wangari Maathai led a group of women that occupied Freedom Corner in Nairobi's Uhuru Park, demanding the release of political prisoners arrested and detained by the Moi regime. The government sent armed police to evict the women, who stripped naked in protest and defiance. Wangari Maathai was beaten unconscious and hospitalized, but the women of Freedom Corner won eventually. The Wangari Maathai in this excerpt is both similar to and radically different from the Nobel laureate so beloved of the global environmentalist movement. She is defiant and unbowed, with an unshaken commitment to social justice. The intersections between her work in the academy and in social movements were clear to her. She engaged in feminist strategy by taking the meaning of African land as linked to African women's realities to its logical ends. Daniel Arap Moi's police recognized how dangerous she and her comrades were, and they sought to punish her with the violence all radical political activists recognize. Mwangi locates this form of women's national protest in a long line of anti-colonial women's public activism, which is either mythologized or tidied out of Kenyan nationalist narrative, where even revolutionary women are discursively rendered as safe and silent. The hypocrisy Mwangi highlights lies in the violence with which radical women's activism is treated. Yet states always know that these women are not safe if we look at responses to women's activism in the above story as well as comparative contexts. Celebration is often a double-edged sword for exceptional and difficult women. It is often haunted by an attempt to render such women more compliant, erasing those aspects of their choices and lives that cannot be tidied into celebratory narratives. Mathai spoke repeatedly against attempts to limit women, reasserting in different sites her consistent decolonialist environmental feminism. Furthermore, she surfaced the complicated, intimate life partnerships that come with such iconic status in her autobiographical writing. Must I keep going?
Yes. Get to the end of the page or something.
Okay. Far from represent. So the chapter is called. So this is from a chapter called Winnie, Wambui, and Wangari on being difficult women.
My favorite chapter.
And so the last bit is so it has sections on each. She's already talked about Winnie. I've already talked about Wambui. So far from representing an ideal to be emulated and venerated, Wambui Wayaki Otieno, Winnie Madikizela Mandela, Wangari Maathai lived complicated lives that offer both warning and inspiration in very different ways. They each illustrate the work of transgressive femininities and the work that each illustrate the work transgressive femininities perform in the world and the limits of heroism for women. While each has been celebrated, all of them have also consistently chose to exceed the categories of celebrated women. Their successful resistance against attempts to render them safe, be it through policing their romantic and or sexual desire, their shifting relationships to nationalist projects, or their failure to conform to regimes of containment, offer freeing visions of unsubjugated femininities.
Thank you, Pumla. Okay, I've given you time to think about your questions. Where is the mic person? Mic person in the corner. Hey, put your hands up. Okay, I think there's somebody over there. There's somebody over here. And please be brief. As my father says, be brief. I'm giving everybody 18 minutes for question answer. Be brief. I don't want comment, but not a question. I want question.
Ausi, black porcelain, Raliwo.
Pumla, I wanted to know, what is your average book count for a year?
I want to see the person who asked this question.
Where? Reveal yourself.
My average.
I mean, you said 20 is too little.
Well, I mean, see, okay, so I don't have an average. It depends on a good year or a bad year. But the minimum is at least a book a week, so at least 52 books a year. But that's not what I aspire to more than. I try to do more than that.
that makes sense.
Like if I'm having a really horrible year, then I usually have about 52 or 53 books. But usually I have sometimes 100.
Twice that, right?
Sometimes I have 100. But I have a friend. Okay, he's old now. We're all old now. Like I'm 52 in a few months, right? So we used to do this thing where he would say, well, it would be like he's wonderful, but he's so annoying on this matter. And around April, he would go, so I'm on book 880 now. And I'd be like,
are you talking about my beloved Vic?
I'm not saying who it is. I don't want to be fought with after this. But he would, and then by the time we got to October, he would say, what number are you at? I'd be like, I'm at 60. He'd be like, underachiever. I'm about to hit 100. So I'm just, you know.
You guys do too much and you don't even have library cards. That's a lot of money for books, man. Who else has...
But also I have a nice excuse. I also teach literature for a living. So the least I can do is keep up.
That's true. Okay, that's true. So you had a question. Mic person.
But it's a bad year, so don't judge me. I'm getting older.
No, actually, I think it's fantastic because I've sometimes criticized literary academics for not reading enough and just keeping it at Makerere.
My sister, there's a question
my
here.
colleagues. Don't I didn't come here to fight with them. I'm fighting with other people today.
I mean, I don't want to interrupt.
No, go ahead, please. They're being spicy.
Okay. I just wanted to ask about, so the panel is obviously Unruly Women, and I just wanted, each of you maybe to comment on the fact that the word unruly, particularly when used with women, is an insult. What's that all about?
I mean, I guess they use different words. Like when I moved to Cape Town, a bunch of blonde women in my class told the lecturer that I'm Bolshi. I'd never heard that word before. Short for Bolshevik. I'm militant. I'm a communist. So they always find weird words, and I think unruly is just one. There's also difficult. What have you been called? Angry, wild, out of order.
It's ABC, angry black chick.
There you go. So it's all of these words that otherwise, but Bolshi really nah. But it's all these words that once you put, once you qualify woman with that word, then it's suddenly like it's a bad thing, right? But I think an unruly man can buy Twitter and mess it up, and people will still think he's a genius.
No, but you can't be an unruly man. That's just the thing.
No,
you
but
are an unruly woman because that's what women are for.
But
right?
when they say
Women
unruly
are for
man,
ruling, are for being ruled.
He's a maverick. He's unruly.
Yeah, he's a man. An unruly man is a man.
Yeah.
Right? A proper woman is a properly ruled woman, right? So that's why it's an insult. It's about basically reminding you that what women are for is for ruling. And how dare you step out of line, which is why it's so wonderful for those of us who don't need permission or want permission to embrace. And I often think it's very freeing to embrace the things, the culture that's trying to make you small, use as insults, are actually compliments if you turn them around, right? So they say unruly, and unruly is the thing that you should be ruled. And you think, you know what, that's great, because I am unruly and undisciplined. That means I'm a free person. And so
I'm a Bolshevik, I stand on business.
Yes, and whatever those are. But I think unruly is deliberate. And I think rule is deliberate, right? Like a woman who doesn't follow the rules, but whose rules, right? So I don't think it's an accident. I mean, that particular word, I don't think it's an accident. I think that's precisely the point. That you just the rules. Like, why can't you be more respectable, more civilized, more smaller? Why are you not Why are you not even trying to make yourself smaller, more invisible, more compliant, more controllable?
Do you have an answer for that?
I think what it is society needs to find a decent way to insult women without being called insulting. People don't want to get cancelled, so it's like, how can I say that you are a wild animal without saying you're a wild animal? I'm now going to call you unruly. And that's more acceptable, so I'm not cancelled. So people will hide under very unkind but acceptable words to qualify women. And again, it's all about them.
Zuki?
Everything they have said.
Does anyone else have a question? We've got 12 minutes. Please be brief, as my father says. Be brief.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. Today felt like sitting in the dining room with my mom and her old friends, and the older.
Wait!
Sorry.
You just called us elderly,
sorry,
and
you
you're
called us
hiding behind the
young and
mask.
fabulous.
Hey!
But the older the woman,
I love this because I am old and I love it, and I'm the oldest. Yeah, so yes, old, make them old.
the older the woman, the less you have to lose, and there's just such a great childlike aspect that I really love about it. So I loved today. My question is, what's everyone's favorite book? I think I get to learn a bit about people on a personal level when I know what's their favorite book. I heard you mention Nervous Conditions, and I was geeking because that's my favorite book. But what's everyone's favorite book?
Just
I
one.
mentioned it not as my favorite
Just
book,
one,
though.
like
It's
top one.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying I don't think any writer has a favorite book.
No,
Whoever-
I was going to
Favorite
say, at
book
least
we're
ask
reading
us what
right
the last
now.
book we read was.
Yeah.
No, I still want to know what's your favorite book.
No, none of us have though.
one
You
favorite book.
don't want us to know you personally. That's
No,
fair.
I don't have
No,
a favorite
it's
book.
none of that.
I
Okay,
literally
what's
don't.
the last book you read?
The last book I read was Queer Book of Revelation by Sia Kumalo. And
Oh, I want to read
yeah.
that.
Yeah. Oh, I loved it.
Let's talk after here.
We shall speak.
Damilare?
Oh, wow. Okay, so my favorite book, I feel like you guys are going to roll your eyes, but I'm going to say it regardless.
Cue the eye roll.
My favorite book is the Bible.
Oh, see, there's no eye roll. I thought you were going to be like, I only have... Okay.
No, my favorite, because it's literally full of mad people that they find ways to describe.
I'm not rolling.
So
my-
nicely.
Everybody's out of their
Actually,
mind.
And that's why you probably love Queer Book of Revelation, because it plays with like a lot of those biblical narratives.
Yeah, so the
Pumla,
Bible.
which one is your...
Because I know you also a playwright and a director, and it's so dramatic. So I'm not rolling my eyes. Like a person who loves drama, it kind of makes sense. That's, you know, so
And it's very drama. It's like, you're bad. I'm going to
Of all
drown
kinds,
everybody.
Of all kinds. It's like, whoa.
What's the last book you read? Or
I've now forgotten the title. My age. It's Olude Popola's new novel, which I can see the cover, and I've forgotten the title.
oh, somebody
because
rescue us. Look, you use your
you can
Googles
Google the
fast.
thing.
Olumide Popola.
Yeah, it's her second novel. I just reread it. I read it in April. So the last book I just read, I just reread it for the second. I read it twice this year. Reread it. So yeah, that's the last one.
The last book
Mohale?
I read was Kindred by Octavia Butler.
Ah!
And I was like, wow, okay, yes, definitely. This is why I say time travel is not for black people. Does anyone else have?
I feel
Oh,
bad
there,
now.
you have a question.
Sorry,
I'm of the title.
Yes, I was like, I'm gonna Google
Like
it now. I feel
water,
so
like-
bad.
Like water, like sea.
Like water, like sea.
Thank
Yes,
you.
fantastic
Okay.
novel.
Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Wow, this is amazing. Me and my friend here, we are from Brazil, so we want to hear more about your Brazilian butts. Your Brazilian
So I just want to say that since Bum Bum was published, I have noticed that my butt is getting smaller. I'm not even joking, so I'm very worried because I don't want to have to become a Tammy. So yes, BBL is, you need to be in Nigeria to experience it. I promise you, some of these doctors, I think they do them when their eyes are closed. Because they will just be like, just go. And then you see the hip, one will be down and one will be up. And then you see where the girl is like, I had to pay 10 million naira for my surgery, then another 5 million naira to make sure that it's done properly. Then, and you know, they'll do the get ready with me as I get over my surgery. So get ready with me as I wear my faja. And then I'm going to be in the surgery room. And you would see people have serious conversations like this about BBL and tell you to pay on how to go about it. And people are registering and they are thriving because, you know, if the business is not going on well, they will not be there. The economy in Nigeria is so bad now that some people can't even feed. But somehow, doctors are still giving women Botox.
Well, maybe that's why they're so bad.
Yeah.
Because they're taking whatever they can get, right?
Because they think it's an investment. So you need to be there to see it. And it's oh, God.
Suppose this is a bad
Damilare,
time to
It's
say
not
I thought about getting a BBL
sometimes
because I
have-
got a flat back.
Like other people's seed money goes to BBL. Other people's seed money goes to drinking petrol and, you know, what you call it, holy oil, you know,
Zukiswa.
with pasta boro. So it's different. Different
Who else
countries
has a
have different
question?
things.
Hey, Zuki.
Different countries have different things.
Oh, I think, okay, over there and then someone here.
Hi. To go back to what have you not done with your life?
Well, please don't do this.
Yes, thank you. I forgot. We'll go. What do you still want to do with your life, as unruly women?
Oh, all of us. I thought you were asking Zukiswa.
Why me though?
Because
Because
I'm
you
the
are
one
the
who
one who was
said,
supposed to
what haven't you done with your life? And then
Yeah.
you were going to answer, and then I thought, no, we'll get kicked out
No,
of Cape
but you
Town.
guys can answer it.
I'm not a guy.
No, what do you still want
answer.
to do? That's the question.
You
now.
answer.
No, but what? Yo, okay. I still want to. Okay, I've been an editor, I've published, I have been a curator, I have written books. Well, I suppose I want to write more books, and I want to, in my lifetime, see social justice, you know, really like where we're not marginalizing the poor people in our society.
That's not what you're doing.
We're trying. No, but I'm saying that's what I want to do. That's what I want to. What haven't I done with my life?
See. What do you want to do?
What?
Zukiswa?
Yeah, I want
she's going to do to make it
I will
see.
do
Well,
it.
can you hurry up? Because my goodness, you have the magic thing. Can you quickly?
No, but I'm saying I'll do it.
Okay.
How?
Thank you, Zuki. Thank you, Zuki.
Thank you.
Damilare, please save us.
How? And Kopas.
I'm sorry. So the one thing I definitely would like to do is go to a nude beach and just watch people walk past.
No.
Oh, you're in Cape Town. There's one in Cape Town.
There's one in Cape Town.
There's
So
one
it
in Cape
could happen
Town.
any day now.
Because
Yeah.
I think when people are naked, they can't hide who they are.
There's one.
There's one
Yeah,
in Cape Town,
unfortunately.
but it's cold.
Pumla, what would you still like
What
to
do
do?
I still want to do? Oh my goodness, I want to do so many things.
Name one.
I
my
want to
sister.
write and I want to publish collections of short stories. I want to write more books. I have a lot more books inside me of different kinds. I want to be a really, really old woman and meet my grandchildren, but I don't know how to do that, but I would like to do that. I want to...
You're assuming they'll be there, ne?
eh?
The grandchildren.
You know, I'm an African woman, so at least out of all of my own and children in my life that my siblings and
So
friends
no
have
pressure
made,
on her kids.
somebody is going to reproduce.
Okay.
Right? Somebody. And that person is going to be my, they're not going to be my grandnephews.
Can we switch
they're
their
gonna be my
mics off? These
grandchildren.
two specifically.
And, but I'm still answering my question. How could you switch mine off? But you want us to be compliant
Continue.
and listen to the rules.
Continue.
You're on the wrong panel.
How?
I want
Mohale, is it
to-
because I'm a woman?
And you know what? Okay, this is a very unfashionable one. Yeah, I'd like to make a little bit more money.
Yes,
I'd like
Lord.
to make a little bit more money. And I'd like to be completely out of debt because, I'm 52. I'm tired of owing anybody. I'm like, I've been working at this thing for 26 years and I still have, and I like things and like,
Yeah.
and I'm sick of all of you talking about two pots. I don't want to hear about two pots because everybody's talking
I
about
don't
two pots.
even
I don't
have
even
one
understand
pot.
it. I have deliberately not understood what on earth the two pots thing is. I just want to have, like, more money.
Mahale,
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Talking about that money part, I cannot wait for the day that colored women, black women, start to earn what they're worth. I'm so over it. I'm a writer who knows the opportunities that we're offered. I would love for us to earn as much as our counterparts that are equally as successful and stop offering us figures that are not fair to us simply because we're colored.
Okay, there's 2 minutes. They already gave
Black
me...
Porcelain, you've been a rock star, you're a novelist, you're a comic hero, you're a feminist superhero. What would you still like to do, please? You're a dog mom, you're a fabulous person
Bruno.
with fabulous earrings, you're a what?
Okay,
What
I
would you
think-
still like to
I
do
think
apart,
I'd like
apart
to-
from win the Nobel Prize?
I think I'd like to write for screen. I'd still like to do that. When I was younger, I had a dream of being on Broadway. I'd love to, I don't know where, I wonder when your dreams are big and the years are short. But so I'd love to write for screen. I'd like to just do one run of a Broadway play. Not off Broadway, I'm talking about Broadway. And I'd also like to be a mom. And time is short. Okay.
Oh, wait, I have another thing.
What?
And maybe I'd like to actually go through with the thing.
Whoa!
Now that nobody expects me to do it,
Run away.
I'm thinking, well, maybe it would be interesting.
My friend,
So
I just
I'm
need to say,
interviewing
if you decide
candidates.
to run with it,
I'm interviewing
Please.
candidates. Well, now you did it. So
no, I'm saying if you decide to run with it, please You're buying my tickets because I'm
I'm not buying anybody's tickets. I'll tell you after an announcement.
Yeah, and then we'll save the date for the celebration.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mervyn and Frankie have been very kind to give me an hour and a half. And if I keep going, they're going to make this 2 hours and then no one will ever show up. I'm so sorry if we didn't get to your questions, but we are outside. I will be drinking small wine, not big wine. And these ladies will also be out there. These unruly women will be out there. Thanks. I know you guys are checking to see if I'm evacuating. Thank you so much for having conversations with us. Thank you, Pumla. Thank you, Damilare. Thank you, Zukiswa.
Thank you so much, everyone.
And thank you, Mohale, and our wonderful.
Thank you, Mohale. And yeah, the books are for sale. The signatures are free, and free Palestine.